चक्षुर्मृतं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं न भूतले स्वयं रूपा पदामयं ददान्ति स्वपदान्तिकम्। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगद्पते गोपेशा गोपीकान्ता राधा कान्ता नमस्तुते। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Right. So we are in first canto, fourth chapter, and fourth verse. So we'll start with the prayers first. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devam saraswati vyasam tado jayamudiyet nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhakti uttam shloke bhaktir bhakti naishtaki tada rajastamo bhavo kama lobhaya cheta यतेनावृत्तं स्थितं सत्त्वे प्रसिद्धति एवं प्रसन्न मनसो भगवत भक्ति योगतः भगवत तत्व विज्ञानं मुक्त संगस्य जायते विद्यन्ते हृदय ग्रन्थे छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशयः क्लिश्यन्ते कस्य कर्माणि दृष्ट्वा एवं निःस्पृहे. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right. Okay, so we are in fourth chapter, which is the appearance of Shri Narada. And the first three chapter more or less talk about like glorifying the speaker. And then first was like setting, and second was glorifying, and third one was the sages are very curious, like how does it all start? Why Vyasadeva compiled this literature? So fourth, fifth, and fourth to eighth verse talks about the speaker, the original speaker of Bhagavatam, which is Sukadeva Goswami. So this verse is very important from very different angles. So I'll try to. There are various thoughts. So I'll try to cover, and thoughts may not be fully organized, so bear with me. But it's like, let's see what comes out. So 144 Tasya Putra Mahayogi Samadrik Nirvikalpaha Ekantamate Nitro Gudha Mudha Evaite. So anybody want to recite?
तस्य पुत्रो महायोगी समाधृन्निर्विकल्पः एकान्तमतिरुन्निद्रो घोड़ो मूढा इव यते.
तस्य पुत्रो महायोगी समदृन्निर्विकल्पकः एकान्तमतिरुन्निद्रो गूढो मूढैव यते.
Right. So word by word, Tasya his Putro son, Mahayogi, a great devotee, Samadrik, equibalanced, Nirvikalpaha, all absolute monist, Ekantamate, fixed in monism or oneness of mind, Unidroho, surpassed nescience, Gudha, not exposed, Mudha, stunned, Eva, like, Ete, appears like. Translated by Srila Prabhupada. His Vyasadeva son was a great devotee, an equibalanced monist whose mind was always concentrated in monism. He was transcendental to mundane activities, but being unexposed, he appears like a ignorant person. Purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Sukadeva Goswami was liberated soul, and thus he remained always alert not to be trapped by illusionary energy. In Bhagavad Gita, this alertness is very lucidly explained. The liberated soul and the conditioned soul have different engagements. The liberated soul is always engaged in progressive path of spiritual attainment, which is sometimes like a dream for conditioned soul. The conditioned soul cannot imagine the actual engagements of liberated soul. With the conditioned soul, while the conditioned soul thus dream about spiritual engagement, the liberated soul is awake. Now, Similarly, the engagement of conditioned souls appear to be dream for liberated soul. A conditioned soul and a liberated soul may apparently be on same platform, but factually they are differently engaged, and their attention is always alert, neither in the sense enjoyment or in self-realization, either in self-enjoyment or in self-realization. The conditioned soul is absorbed in matter, whereas a liberated soul is completely indifferent to matter. This indifference is explained as follow. So there'll be a following verse. Let me do one thing. Let me little bit settle my view. Yeah, I prefer to know who are there. All right. So I like this first line, very fascinating from this purport. Shravan says this, and the word is alert. So Sukhdev Goswami was liberated soul. So he's liberated already. He's not like practicing sadhaka or like struggling conditioned soul, but he's always alert. And we can see it from uh, not that he practiced and he realized and he became alert, but he was kind of self-realized in the boomer mother itself. So when he was in the womb, he did not come out for 16 years because he was very cautious. As soon as I'm out, I'll be trapped. So he preferred to remain inside her mother's womb and not come outside. And there's a like whole story. Then there's a conversation, and then Vyasa says, "Why you're troubling us?" He can kind of little get frustrated. You come out. What do you want? He says, "I want assurance that I will not be trapped by influenced by Maya." Because a child wants everything like kind of cajole him and pamper him, and then he's trapped. And Narad Vyasadeva says, I'll assure you, you'll not be trapped. He says, hey, fine. Your assurance is of no value. See, 2 minutes before, you were saying, why frustrated, why you're troubling your wife and me. So you can see the duality. So I mean, I need, he says, okay, whose assurance you need? He says, it's insurance who controls Maya. And then Vyasadeva went to Dwarka and Krishna came and then Krishna gave assurance and then Sudhir Goswami came, and as soon as he came, he started walking. So next verse will cover that part. But the point is here is the alert. So he was very alert before. And I can tell, not even in spiritual life, but in life in general, when you're alert, it's a big mess. And I have a practical experience of doing that. So alertness is very important. And we can see in life also, forget about even spiritual, even in material life, the pupils who are very successful, the alertness is one thing which they ride on. Doing the right thing at the right time, at the right opportunity, be sensitive about what can be harmful or what they want. Like even a like a person who's involved in sense enjoyment, they'll be alert. Oh, when is my object of sense? When I can get them? Oh, they make whole plan about it. Like if say somebody wants some girl, so they'll be very alert when she come, when she know who's looking at it, who's not looking at it. So even for any the most sinful activity also, people are alert. Anybody who's stealing is very alert. What time I have to go? His full planning is here. When I'm doing it, what I have to take care of, that nobody get alarmed or the alarm doesn't ring up. So the we see for our any endeavor, whether it's spiritual or it's material, alertness plays a big role. Now, right now the war is going between. Unfortunately, the war is going with Russia and Ukraine. So I'll give an example. So according to like Prabhupada always says, we have a raise a war against Maya. So that's a war. And then we can take a parallel analogy, the war going between Ukraine and Russia. And I'm using that with it's very relatable right now, very unfortunate. No means that I'm relishing it, but it's very unfortunate event happening. But let's see what happens there. So in war, to fight any war and to win, you need basically what you need. You need equipments, tools, process. Number one, you have to acquire nice guns or tanks or aeroplanes or whatever, fighter planes, whatever you need. So you need basically paraphernalia, you need process, and then you need training on it. So if you have very nice fighter plane or very nice guns, but you don't know how to properly operate them, I mean, not of much use. But say you have fully equipped, you have a nice of the tools, you have the nice training on those tools, and you practice enough on those tools, and you're good at it. But imagine you go to the war zone, but you're not alert. Again, you'll be doomed. So may not be of much value. You may get killed there. You may not get trapped there. Instead of having the best tool and best training, getting the maximum out of it, winning over. So very important when you are tools, training, and alertness. When we come to the spiritual life, which Mahaprabhu said that we have raised a war on Maya. So we have tools, we have process given by Prabhupada, we have chanting, we have Bhagavatam, all tools are there. Then we get trained also with our Sangha, with our association, with the Prabhupada's guideline, our respective spiritual masters guideline, our mentors guideline, we get training. How to use this tool, how to, what not to, there's a rules and regulation, all that thing is there. And we can imbibe them properly. We can be expert in those tools. But guess what? When we are in day-to-day life fighting with the Maya, when we are not alert of using those, we are not alert. In spite of being best of the tools and best of the training, we can be crushed and we can crush others also. In spite of the best of everything. So having best of the process, best of the literature, best of the association, if alertness is not there, everything can become a big zero. Everything. So that was one thing like I was relating from this verse. Other thing which is coming to me is the greatness of Vyasadeva. It's kind of little parenting lesson. Or before that, I'll go to this with monist. So Sukadev Goswami was a monist or a Brahmavadi at one point in time. Prabhupada uses a great devotee, so I'll come to that here. So, but initially he was a Brahmavadi. As soon as he was born, next verse will describe, he just start walking. I'm done with it. Being a Brahmavadi is not less. It's a up high level, anyways. Because in second chapter we read Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwaneti. So it's one of the stage in God realization. But imagine a situation of Vyasadeva. He was like a pure devotee, Saktavesh avatar, not even a pure devotee, Saktavesh avatar, compiler of all Vedas, and then writer of Bhagavatam, composer of Bhagavatam. So such a pure devotee, great devotee, and his son is a Brahmavadi. So if we are not alert, generally like what happens when there is a devotee and their family member, child is a devotee, then you feel a lot of pressure. Oh my gosh. And then you shame that person, judge that person, force that person, hey, chant. Why are you playing all the time? Do this. But Vyasadeva is not judging. And as a devotee also in general, we do, hey, this is my materialist person. This is an impersonalist person. They're bekar. They're useless. But here we can see from Vyasadeva's example, we have no right to judge anybody. We can discriminate, but not think less of them, because everybody is on their journey. It's Krishna's plan. Everybody make a choices. Everybody make a stop, hop over, wherever they are, and they learn from that and grow, whatever their path is. So we should not use the philosophical information to demean other person. Like for example, the war is happening between UK and Russia, and we can say, oh, people are saying, yeah, their group karmic reaction is coming. They must have done something horrible. So one level, it might be true, but it is very insensitive. That's not what Vaishnava is. Vaishnava is para dukha dukhi. And it does not say you are para dukha dukhi only when person is righteous. It doesn't say that. It says para dukha dukhi. Other person is pain, you feel that pain. That's Vaishnava. So that being sensitive, people are going through so many hardship. We should not philosophize it. Group karmic reaction is coming to them. There is so much nonsense and now they're paying for it. No. What they did is their business. That's it between them and Krishna, how Krishna says. But when somebody is going through something, then our heart naturally should go. And if it is not going, if it is not hurting, then something wrong with us. Our heart should go, how can I serve this soul? These souls, what can I do? Even if we are so far, we are not there, we can at least pray for them. And when person is ready, when there is one-to-one conversation, we have enough emotional investment in that person, understanding, relating to that person. If the person asks, hey, why happening? Then you can make a philosophical argument for awareness and not judging and not justifying and not labeling them. Similarly, we see here Vyasadeva. He did not say, hey, come on, I'm a Vyasadeva, pure devotee, composer of Bhagavatam. Bhagavan realized, you're my son. How can you be monist? How can you be Brahmavadi? Come on. You are a shame on me. He didn't. He accepted him as it is. That's why we say he was running after him to call him, come on, my son. But being an expert spiritual master, being an expert person, being a pure devotee, he see how I can take my son to next level without disturbing him, without forcing him. And we know, like, he sent his disciple with 2 verses, and then Sukadeva Goswami heard these 2 verses, Ahobaki, Samakanda Kutam, the 3rd canto and 10th canto verse, and he became pure devotee. So here we see by forcing, by shaming, by condemning, by blaming, by judging, we cannot have people, for lack of gurus, comply with us or not take them where we want to take them or guide them in a way. If we do these negative things, we will definitely bring a rebellious in a person and bring them against us. So accepting of a person and working in alignment with them for the next step is very important. Otherwise, it's a very detrimental. It's a pain for us, pain for them. So Vyasadeva is teaching exactly here. Prabhupada is teaching here. Prabhupada is not saying, oh, he's monist. So, Shaunaga Rishis and all, since oh, he was a monist. No, they're okay. He has and his journey. And he was such a, Prabhupada mentioned, he's a transcendentalist. He's a liberated soul, such a great soul. I'll come to that point before next. The beauties of Sukadeva Goswami is this: whatever he was a Ekantamati, very fixed. And Brahmavadi being, anyways, so Brahmavadi being is not anything less. Like Krishna says in 1854, Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma, na Sosade na Kamshi, Samasar Bhutese, Mat Bhakti Labde Param. So if we are even a Brahmavadi, monist, of course, Mayavadi is different, and we don't have to even judge them. That's their journey. Only thing is when they create a violence by influencing our Mayavad, there, if possible, we should interfere, if possible, and see how other soul is not deluded in the darkness, as Yeshupnasha says. Otherwise, if somebody is monist, we should respect them, their journey and their personal choices and how we can or what we can contribute to their life. So being monist or impersonal is nothing less. It's one of the first stage in being God realized. And it can so happen we may be devotees, but not Bhagwan realized, I mean, practicing devotee, but going for understanding the Bhagwan. But in our behavior, we may be impersonalist. And which I can see, I caught myself so many times. So we may, so to speak, at a practicing for highest level, but our practices may be lower than the lowest first rank, even lower than the impersonalist. And it is like Sukadev Goswami was Brahman realized, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, Soshina Kangsi. So he was a Prasannatma. I can see for myself, I'm not a Prasannatma. So many desires are still there. So many hankering dualities there. So Sukadev Goswami was high up there. So even if we target to that stage of monism, it's a high stage. And how it is high stage, we can see. He was such a liberated soul, not affected by modes, that when he heard these two verses, immediately became devotee. We take ages to even grasp few concepts, and he mastered them. He mastered them to the so extent a 16-year-old boy. Imagine 16-year-old boy giving first Bhagavatam class. Nobody has given. Vyasdev only composed it. So he is giving first Bhagavatam class. And who are the audience? His spiritual master, his father, Narad Muni spiritual master. His father or spiritual master is both Vyasadev. His great spiritual master, Narad Muni, is there and he's speaking. Imagine, I mean, when we give Bhagavatam class, we prepare so many and we are like all over the place. Now imagine anybody who's given Bhagavatam, first Bhagavatam class you're giving. It itself is a challenge. Now imagine you're giving a Bhagavatam class, first Bhagavatam class, and in audience sitting your spiritual master or senior devotees or your mentor. Gone. What to speak, Srila Prabhupada himself speak. I mean, Srila Prabhupada is always there in this Vigraha, but personally sitting there. What will be your situation? You just imagine. In that situation, not only that, his spiritual master, great spiritual master, with so many great sages, so many learned person there. This 16-year-old boy is giving a first Bhagavatam class. And what a fantastic Bhagavatam class he gave. So we can understand the power of Sukhdev Goswami, what he is, how much fixed he is, the personality is. The other verse says is surpass nescience. Unadrinoho. So he's like, because he's transcendental, he's beyond three modes, so he was not inflicted by ignorance at all. But simultaneously he says Gudha, not exposed. So six verse he says like Sukhdev Goswami, he only stays at one place that only person can milk a cow. So means he's not very social. He's not very interacting very much with the people. He was like self-realized, self-absorbed not in a narcissistic way. Self-absorbed means he's finding pleasure in self by thinking of Lord. So he's not exposed too much. And because he's not exposed, he appears to be fool. And we can, because he's not interacting, he don't want to waste his time, he don't want to get influenced. Same example comes from Jada Bharat. People were thinking he's fool, mad. Prabhupada says fool can be covered unless he speaks, something like that. And we can see the very realized person can also be exposed only when he speaks. So he was not exposed, he was appearing like a stunned or like a, Prabhupada says, ignorant person. But when we speak, so everybody knows what Sukadeva Goswami is. Like Bhagavatam is emblem of his relation, his knowledge, his depth, his connection with God. So lesson which I see is like, keep this facility as much as shut, this open. And when it comes out, then it should make an impression. That it should bring what is inside. It's not that you start beating people with a philosophy or just speaking blah 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 whatever. But when you speak, it should reflect on. And I'm, by the way, when I'm speaking, it's not like I'm realized to it, but I'm targeting. I'm way far, but sharing my struggles and sharing my inspirations. So when you speak, it should be, I mean, 7 chapters speak should be very pleasing, truthful, and it should show what your substance is. They should glorify a spiritual master. It should glorify a parampara. So here we are seeing with Sukadeva Goswami what he did and how he did. So that's another thought which was coming to me. And in purport, Srila Prabhupada says, he quoted the Bhagavad Gita verse 269. So what is night for conditioned soul is awakening for spiritualist, and vice versa. Very, very big principle, very big principle. And it's not only in the physically day and night, which also always happens, but it's about the consciousness. It's about our interest. It's about what they're targeting for. And we can see what materialists aim for always being destruction. What the spiritualists aim for, or what their interest is, always bring upliftment. And we can see in current situation, we have a great leaders, we have a NATO, this and that, so many things are there, and they're trying to solve the problem of this life from material angle. Okay, end up doing more worse. So many innocent people are getting killed. So material problem, material solution bring disaster sooner or later. Prabhupada says there can not be any material solution which can bring peace. Now we see the interest of the spiritualist. So let's take the case of Sonaka Rishi and all the sages of Naimisharanya. What their interest is, they're seeing a material problem, that Kali Yuga is coming, Manda Sumanda Manda Bhagyo. People are disturbed, people are unfortunate. So what to do? Material problem. Here also material problem. And they're contemplating, and they yagna, and they're taking a shelter of spiritual activities. Now let's see what happens with that. When they take shelter of spiritual activities, Bhagavatam is spoken by second time by Sutta Goswami. Effect not only to the audience, but audience for eternity to come. People in who was the sages, Shaunaka Rishi and all the sages assembled there, they get benefited. People who genuinely want to benefit it for ages, they're getting benefit. We are still reading Bhagavatam, getting benefited with that. Material problem, material solution, from materialistic point of view, we see what is happening and what will the impact of this war. The impact will be the pupils or generations to come will be in trauma. So imagine you're sitting, we're speaking in second person to make it more relatable. Imagine you're sitting in your home with your loved ones, your family member, say having a dinner, and second moment they smoke. Everybody die because some missile stuck from somewhere. That's the situation people are in Ukraine right now. They're living in a 24/7 fear whether next moment will be there in life or not. From where the bullet will come, from where the missile will come, what will happen. Every moment in that fear. Just imagine for a second. What a hardship. When you're living in that fear, whoever survives and whoever, even if you don't lose your loved one, that is a big enough trauma to live with. What to speak of, they leave, the someone near and dear and loved one is a victim of this war. They lose their life. Imagine how much shock they will live in this lifetime and generations to come. We can see, and so many wars like India partition, war when happened between Pakistan and India. The generations are living that trauma till now. What Hitler did to Jewish Nazis, burning in the gas chambers, people are living that trauma till now. So any war have a traumatic effect and generations live, not only like it's done, war is over and done, okay, whatever casualty happened. No, people carry that in their mind and they carry it for lifetimes, and that their generations carry for lifetime. So one thing is damaging for a person for lifetimes to come and generations for lifetime to come. And when we find spiritual solutions that's soothing for us in this lifetime, we make a spiritual progress. It's good for us for our lifetimes to come and our generations to come. Narasimhadev says to Prahlad Maharaj, when somebody became devotee, that 7 generations behind and up get benefited. And here, when we find a material solution, the generations come get impacted. So we can see what is a difference in the materialist and conditioned soul, and how it propagate, how the impact gets propagated. And selfishness, judgment, and insecurity, that is called this. If Vyasadeva would have been insecure, even in a spiritual matter, I mean, insecurity, even in spiritual matter will be detrimental. If he would have been insecure, he would like basically box his son. Oh, became pure devotee. How can you be honest? Why you to go arrest? Why have to send? Just now, big chanting beat. Sit here, I'm speaking Bhagavatam to make you. He would have crushed Sukhdev Goswami. Sukhdev Goswami, Radha Devi and Sukhdev Goswami would have been somebody rebellious teenager, and not even a Brahmavadi, or maybe he may be a stream Brahmavadi, who knows. But connection with the father and son would have been lost, and it would be totally different ballgame. And which we see in, I mean, we do. I mean, at least I can vouch for it, and we can see the world leaders do in the lack of proper understanding. It's like this. If we have a immature understanding of even the best thing, we can damage rather than creating a better thing. Like, for example, if you know the Tylenol cure fever, but if you're immature, or immature or attached and not right, incorrectly attached, you can damage. Say somebody as a child who's sick and he's very attached, but he's immature, and you want child to be not to suffer with the pain of fever, and the person, oh, Tylenol works on the fever, and very immaturely, very hesitantly, he give him higher dose, or say he give a dose, fever didn't come down, he again give him a dose. So rather than benefiting that person, he may damage that person. So applying even spiritual principle to self and to others need a lot of maturity, a lot of detachment. And if those things are not there, I mean, I can speak for that. We can damage people's, we can damage ourselves, even with the best of the things, even with the Krishna consciousness, even with the Bhagavatam, even with all the nice process. Vyasadeva didn't do. He's showing us right in the starting of Bhagavatam. He's showing us with example. We can damage people when people are suffering, like in this case in the war, when people come and ask the question, we can really damage, crush them. Like I was having a conversation with one devotee, like in this war, how can we see a mercy of Krishna? People are suffering, how to see mercy? And unless we connect to that person, our response, I mean, Krishna is all merciful, true, but our response can be very damaging to that person, to the extent that person can become atheist also. You can say, oh, so simple. I mean, nothing wrong about it. It's just a philosophy. It's a collective group karma. Nothing wrong about it. But imagine you're going through something collective group karma. Oh, what the hell it is. But when we connect to that person, to their pain, and feel that pain, not artificially, and then at logical point in time when things are mature, then we can give. They can say, oh yeah, maybe because of that. Yeah, it makes sense. But if we prematurely and judgmentally and showing them down, we communicate, even if our intention is not there, but if we are not have maturity of connecting with the person, and then slide when the time is ripe and sliding the answer, it can, same thing can just crush it, just kill it. Same answer, corrective karma can bring them awareness, raise their consciousness, make them open for higher consciousness. But same two words can crush them, shut them forever. And that's what Vyasadeva and Prabhupada is showing from here. How not to judge, how not to beat people, but how same per person we can make a greatest of a person. Or we can, I mean, who are we to make? Same, we can assist in their journey. We can be a positive contributor, cheerleader, guide in their journey, being a very sensitive, very emotionally connected to that person, understanding where they are, what they're being through, what they're going through, or what's their heart, and properly reciprocating, rather than immaturely using the best of tools, best of services, or best of things we have, and beating the person to the bushes, even unintentionally. But ignorance is not a reason, or not a justification we can give to our immaturity or our stupidness. And it can work from every step. When I was reading, I was saying, wow, it is so applicable for us for minute to minute. Alert. Okay. There is a very fantastic statement Prabhupada made in one of the lecture he gave in Vrindavan. It was like Krishna consciousness is conscious of Krishna and cautious of Maya. Alert. And I'm cautious of Maya does not only mean not only getting engaged in sense gratification. I mean, those are gross things, eating meat, drinking, or this and that. Fine, we refrain from that. But when we are practicing, we can come to the lower, refiner levels. Cautious of Maya is also how we interact, how we deal, how we think with others, how we relate to others. Are we insensitive? Insensitivity is not Krishna consciousness, is like Maya. Even if we are using the greatest of philosophy, we insensitive, but it is a Maya. Because what is Maya? Maya is what is not Krishna. We can take example of Krishna himself. When Abhimanyu was killed and Arjuna was devastated, Krishna did not give any philosophy to him. He has given philosophy few days before only, but he did not remind him. Hey Arjuna, why are you lamenting? Forget Bhagavatam chapter 2. We are soul in this body. He was staying with him in his pain. We'll read in 7th chapter when Draupadi's son was slain, and Arjuna take a vow, I'll go and bring this, and then you stand on his head and take bath and all that thing. Krishna says, wait, what's going on, guys? You forget? Few days before, I give chapter 18, 19 days before, I speak Bhagavad Gita. Come on, what are you doing? You're bringing such a defamation to me. You're such a shame on me. I teach you, and in 18 days only, your first student, and you're not applying it. And you said, when I teach you, give you Bhagavad Gita class, you say, Skarisya Varshan Tava. Moha Nashta Smriti Labdva. My illusion is gone. I regain my knowledge. And what happened? You are again in Moha. He didn't say that. He didn't even speak one word of philosophy at that time. He stayed with them in their pain. So when we are insensitive, we are in Maya. We are not cautious of Maya. Because that's not how Krishna acts. That's not how Krishna was working. He was not an insensitive person. So when we Krishna conscious means conscious that person, means what that person do, we do that. We follow that. If we follow his instruction and take inspiration from actions and try to align ourselves. So Krishna teach, Vyasadeva is teaching, and Prabhupada is teaching. So we can refine that a little, because we become happy. Oh, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing things, I'm not doing any sense gratification, I'm not engaged in all these activities, I'm practicing devotee. Sure, good, very nice. but there's always a chance to go deeper. What does Maya means? How I can be cautious of Maya? How can we be conscious of Maya and not throwing my anger, my expectations, my control on the family members, respecting and accepting them for what they are, and see how can I contribute, or fellow members in the community or in people in general. That could be alertness, not getting trapped in Maya. So that was my thoughts. Yeah. So anything. So basically, bottom line is when we have respect for all, that helps. When the threads not attached, we cut the threads. We became detached and loving, compassionate, seeing others' pain. Then we can be people. Then we can move with the people. Then we can even say we have to give Krishna consciousness to somebody. We cannot give Krishna consciousness to anybody. We can give philosophy, we can speak, but we cannot unless we have an emotional connection with the person. Because emotion is one what drives people. Why Bollywood, Hollywood, why the people spend so much money on the movies? Because they find emotional connection there. They became happy, they became sad when something sad is happening, they become very happy when something happy is happening. They find that emotional connection, emotional fulfillment, at least for that whatever 1 2 3 hours movie is, and they again and again go and spend money there. But when we give our philosophy, we sometimes give very dry and people say, "Eh." But when we make emotional connection with the person, make friendship, not with the intention, oh, I have to convert this person to make this one devotee, but genuinely on a person to person level, like what we'll read in the last few verses to come, and then slide philosophy, then make an emotional connection, then that stay with the person's heart. Then they choose themselves how fast, how, where, what pace they have to go, and we should respect them. So that's my little thoughts on this. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll invite everybody for sharing their thoughts, their realizations, and in discussion. And it'll be nice if we can put videos so that we can at least see everybody have personal connection, personal philosophy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dhanavatam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
As usual, very wonderful class, Prabhu.
Oh, thank you.
Very practical points. I mean, I know Krishna consciousness we are all following, but today you said, we have very wonderful tools given by Prabhupada. We are so fortunate that we are able to practice at least with that tools. And as you said, there is no need to reinvent anything, but still we are very fortunate. But the point is that when we are immaturely handling these wonderful tools, but can cause destruction. That is the point you told very nicely today. So I can see myself many places, in my relatives in India. I see many devotees that they don't have any other opinion. They know the philosophy, they're preaching and they're doing. But many of my friends, they get completely away and they develop hateness towards Krishna consciousness because of the incorrect usage of those tools and applying them.
Yeah.
So that is very great point too. So I like that.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, we do a lot of damage. I can.
Yeah, and also this comes by maturity. Even here also some of the many times now we are not sensitive to the needs of the people, and like you said, we are not emotionally connected to them, and then we try to judge them by saying that this person is like that, that person is like that. This is very, very, very important point. I mean, of course, practicing Krishna consciousness is one thing, but unless if we don't realize this general, definitely we are going to cause some damage to others' lives.
Yeah. What I learned from empathic communication is, and Biri Krishna Maharaj has given very nice seminars on it. Very fortunate to attend one of them, two of them. when we judge a person, we create a disconnection.
Right.
So we say, oh, it's not non-devotee and we devotee, or it's materialist or impersonalist. We immediately cut. We cut the connection now. And after connecting connection, we try to convince them.
Right.
It's not going to happen. It's like you cut the wire and you're trying to turn on the light. It's not going to happen. Prabhupada never did that. Prabhupada, if anybody comes to him, he will talk on sports. He'll talk like, what is his name? Peter Burwaj Prabhu.
Mm.
First meeting, Prabhupada talked about him on tennis for so long. Not
Mm.
even introduce Krishna consciousness. He make connection. He see what person interest is. He make connection on that. And when type is high, he'll give little bit. And because a connection is already established, people, so many cases, Prabhupada. I mean, so many people, so many person became devotee, their parents come, he did not give philosophy at all. He just connecting with what their interest is.
Mm.
And he'll talk about that. Even if he don't know anything, he'll ask questions to inquire more and know more about it. So the people get, oh, this person is interested in me. Is emotional connection. And when you have that real connection and you're not tagging, then Prabhupada never tagged anybody. And then from heart to heart transfer happens.
Yeah.
The philosophy of Krishna consciousness does not transfer from our mouth, it transforms our heart. And heart to heart transfer happens when heart to heart connection is there. But sometimes immaturely we think, oh, I know the verses and Bhagavatam and take a person and put all 18 chapter and 18 canto inside and done.
Yeah.
Doesn't go anywhere. So it's very important not to judge. There are flip side. People can say, oh, Prabhupada always says, but less rascal, non-devotees. Yes, he mentioned this was, he's a teacher. He mentioned for us to know. The philosophy is for me to know and discern. Philosophy is not for me to judge other person or beat other person. When the doctor is telling, oh, you have a fever, so it's for me to know. Now I don't see everybody as having a fever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much for nice.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Any sharing? Any realization? Any take home? Any discussion?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhu, I had a question. You mentioned that Brahmavadi is not necessarily same as Mayavadi. Could you explain that a little bit further, Prabhu?
Yeah, so impersonalist. So Brahmavadis are like, Brahman is like when you become spiritual or when you are transcendental, you merge in a Brahman. Okay, and you remain in Brahma Jyoti basically. Impersonalist, or their other aspect of there is everything. God is spread across. Is a light. He's not a person. Okay, that says Brahma. He says like everything is God and is spread across. And Mayavadis take to another extent that you are also God, I am also God. When we merge in God, we became one with God and we are God. So there is a slight distinction there. One is a spiritual suicide, one is a incomplete knowledge. Make sense?
Yes, Prabhu, but the goal of both are the same, right? To merge into the Brahman. Is that correct?
So one is you merge in Brahman, you became in Jyoti, and it's not that you became God, it's just spiritual annihilation. And Mayavadi says we became God. When we realized we became God. Brahmadi don't say that we became God. We said, okay, it's a super light, we merge in light, and then it's done, and everything just here everything is like light, and whatever is a God's portion. But there Mayavadi's motive, you became, hey, you're God. Don't think you're God. You became a God. This very distinction. One is you're beating a person that you are God, and you became God. One is okay, you just get into it. Shanti, like Buddhism, just merge into the eternity.
Thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu, I had also another question about Sukadev Goswami. So he mentioned that he was initially impersonalist and then he became a transcendental devotee, right? So did, like, when you were speaking Bhagavatam, he already had become a a
Yes,
devotee,
yes.
right?
Yeah, because he learned Bhagavatam. No? Vyasadeva taught him Bhagavatam. That's why he spoke. Bhagavatam was composed by Vyasadeva, not by Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami gave the first Bhagavatam class. So he became devotee by that time. He was speaking.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
So, as you said, initially Sukadeva Goswami born as an impersonalist.
Hmm.
After that, he became transcendentalist.
Hmm.
So, as per my knowledge, after he born, immediately he left the house, right? So when
Yes.
he, when he became what is incident, it became like transcendentalist.
Yeah. So next verse will tell we just immediately leave. So he immediately left, and Vyasadeva was running after him. He didn't learn, and he just left. And I'll not go detail because next Saturday that will be covered. And then Vyasadeva was thinking. What he did he trained his disciples, and he gave them two verses. One was 3 to 23 Ahobaki Samkala Kutam, that one, and once was from 10th canto, which describes the beauty of Krishna. And he says, go to the forest and just, there are virgins, when you keep reciting this verse, and no ghost will come to you. Okay. And they went to the forest, and they keep reciting. They see one person was on the tree and jumping here and there, and they thought this is a ghost, and they reciting the verse. Reciting. The Gurudev's told, recite this verse. This looks like a ghost. Recite verse, and ghost will go away. And when they were reciting verse, and Sukadeva Goswami feel very attractive. Wow, what is this? Because one verse, Ahobaki, Samakala Kotam, talks about Putana, like the compassion of Krishna, like how compassionate is. Even a lady who come with a poisoned breast to kill him, he liberate him also. And second talks about Krishna's beauty. And he was totally enamored with these two verses. And these disciples start running towards the Vyasadeva ashram, and Sukadeva Goswami start chasing them. He want to know more. What is this, man? What is this? And he was really attracted to these two verses. And disciple was running for their life. They think this is a ghost, and Gurudev says that when we recite, then he'll run away, but he's running after us. So, anyways, they come to the Vyasadeva ashram, and Sukadeva Goswami also come there. And there he became a student of Vyas. He was inquiring, what is this? Tell me this. And then, anyways, he became a disciple, or he became a student of Vyasadeva, and Vyasadeva gave him whole Bhagavatam class. So it's again that's why I'm saying that Vyasadeva was very expert. Rather than beating him, he gave him what will attract him. And when he came by himself, he gave him whole Bhagavatam class to him, all 18 canto.
Yeah, thank you.
To
Prabhu.
the extent he became a first speaker also.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Prabhu. Prabhu,
Thank
I
you.
have one more question.
Ji.
So when Sukadeva Goswami is walking, the ladies who are taking bath, so they didn't care about the covering the clothes. When Vyasadeva came, so they covered. So because of Vyasadeva only, he became transcendentalist, right? So
Yeah.
why is the difference here?
So that will be covered in next class, but I can give little thing. Difference is Sukadeva Goswami is like renunciate. He's taken that. And Vyasadeva is a family man. And the family man has to make differentiation. He has to, because he's in a family, in a social circle. So even though he's transcendentalist, but he has to act from the platform of social platform also. That's why we says even the devotee and non-devotee, they may be acting in the same platform, but their consciousness is different. So the materialist person see naked ladies and she'll turn away. Transcendentalists can also do this, but one person is differentiating attracted or repelled. One person understands the soul and body, but to honor the social structure, I have to make differentiation. And similarly, the ladies, they realize, hey, this is naked person, renunciate, mura, okay, who cares? He's not interested. He will not be interested. But when he say Vyasadeva is a family man, they make a differentiation there. Oh, he's a family, respected family man, and we should not be like this in front of him. So like that.
Thank you,
both
Prabhupada.
both consciousness was same, very elevated, but in different ashram the activities were different.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah, but more to come next class. So that's a
Oh,
that's a
yeah.
verse. Yeah.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. We have 4 more minutes. If anybody want to share anything. All right. If nothing, then thank you very much. Kirunasharam Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatruvecha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Prabhu, there is a question in the chat. What
Okay,
are the
sorry.
two verses? I heard you say one of the verses Putana verse. What's the other one, Prabhu?
Yeah, I'll give. I always keep forgetting. It's from 10th canto. If anybody else remember, just share that. I must have in my laptop. I had that. I getting old, senior movement, always forget things. I think Shantamadi Asmati, I'll let you know. I have that verse somewhere, not in my mind, but my detachable hard drive.
Sure, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Hare
Yeah, it's not coming. I know I haven't noted it. It's in 10th canto. It describes the Krishna's beauty, his peacock feather, his dress, and all that thing.
Starts with Barhi Pincha Nataparam.
Yeah. Do you have the verse number? Or I'll send you, Mataji. Right. Anything else? If not, then thank you very much, and thank you so much for giving opportunity and early morning coming and tolerating me. I hope, if not me, but definitely not me, but Srila Prabhupada's message will enliven our life, make our day. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you,
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you, Prabhu.
Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Lot of connection.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji.